Welcome to this critique. Welcome to Photo Feedback Forum, where we are going to critique this image. We're going to learn from this image. This image was sent in by a viewer. Always appreciate seeing fresh content. If you would like to send in a photo for critique and help others learn from, use the link in the description or this QR code to fill out the form and send me that image. On with the show. I'm going to score this photo as if it was submitted to a photo salon, but more importantly, I'm going to make some suggestions and then show the suggestions that I'm going to talk about. I actually implemented in the photo that we'll see towards the end. But I'm going to go through it right now as a photo judge, and this was in a photo salon. So composition, I'm going to give this a 16, lighting 17, technical 17, impact 18, and storytelling 16 for a total of 84. So you can kind of really ignore the numbers. Those are just for fun. We're going to learn from each of these sections right now. So a composition, why is 16? Well, in my opinion, there is just too much headroom up here. It's not contributing to the story, so I don't see it as necessary. When you're crafting a photo, it's similar to like writing a story. You want to put items into the story, into the photo to begin with, and then you want to take them out at the end. Everything that goes in should come out. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. And so in this case, little too much headroom was put in there, but we can take care of that later. So along with just too much headroom from a composition standpoint, the content that's in here, well, we'll get to that in a minute here. Let's just jump to lighting here. So the lighting on the subject is great. Love the soft lighting here. You can tell it's a bright day. We got a bright spot here, bright on the bench, and obviously the sky is blown out. A good choice in making this black and white, by the way. But because of that harsh sun is coming through all of these leaves and branches, it's just it's chaotic looking. So lighting on him, great. And back here, it's not so much that the lighting, well, let's jump into the technical. Here's what we'll be able to do with it. If the background was more out of focus, then that would blend everything here together and it wouldn't be as chaotic. But you're thinking, oh, with it being that bright, if you're shooting at 2.8 or 1.4, too much light is going to come in. That is an accurate statement. So you can obviously have an f-stop of 8 or 11, and then that cuts down on the light, but you'd also lose the quality of light here on the subject, but it wouldn't be as bright back here. So a solution is shooting with a neutral density filter to cut down on the light back here, and then that would allow you to use a more wide aperture, again 2.8, 1.4, and that would help make this blurry, and that would make this less chaotic. All right, and I'm going to show you an example of that in a little bit. Now, impact. I like the pose. I like the pensive face of the subject. The title of this photo was or is Cowboy Dreams, and you can tell he's lost in thought. He has some sort of apparatus here. I don't know. It might be horse related. I'm not 100% sure, but it's something he's thinking about, and that contributes to the story. So impact wise, good face. Now storytelling wise is where I think it kind of falls apart a little bit, because we have a cowboy, we have some sort of horse apparatus, and I'm guessing, but we have a lake and forest here. So there's a disconnect, in my opinion, from a storytelling standpoint. The subject and the environment aren't dovetailing as nicely as I think they could. So that's why we give this a 16 for storytelling and a total of 84. All right. So I mentioned quite a few things. I am going on possible ways to improve it, and we'll see if you agree. So the first thing I mentioned was too much headroom. So here it is, the image as shot, and then here it is cropped. So again, we don't need as much space up there. And this also has this nice side benefit of making the figure more prominent in the frame, which I think works well. That said, it does maybe feel a little bit tight. So I think a happy medium here would be a square crop. So this over here was compliments of a little generative fill. I didn't have as much room over there, but with generative fill, it worked out. So a square crop, I think works well. If you still wanted a little more space, you can go to a 4:5 ratio and open this up a little bit more. So other things that we can do with this image in post. Okay, here we are back to the original. As I mentioned, in my opinion, the light coming through here is, while it's harsh, the main problem is all these little leaves and branches make for a chaotic scene. So if the maker was able to shoot at 2.8 or 1.4, get the subject in focus and make this out of focus, I think that would work. That would also lower the overall lighting of the scene, and that would look like this. So again, we have an, for me, easier on the eyes background. I also lowered the highlights and exposure on the subject as well. I think that works. Again, on site, shooting this at 2.8, I think would have been uh, a better deal. You can still in post. This works okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. I mean, this tree isn't perfectly blurred, but you could play around with it. But my point is that there's a lot of brightness back here, and if you're able to shoot at a wider f-stop, it would help blur things, and also, especially if you're using a neutral density filter, you can really knock down the light, and you'd end up with something like this, which I think is easier on the eyes. Now, the one item that has not been discussed yet or haven't shown is the fact that we have a cowboy with some sort of horse apparatus, and he's, on in a forest and near a lake, which I think there's a miss there. So the ideal situation is the subject is on a farm or a ranch, and then there'd be a connection between the subject and the environment. We don't have that with AI. We can approximate that. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. So hopefully some of these ideas work for you. Hopefully, if you agree, let me know in the comments. If you don't agree, let me know in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion about it. But once again, thank you so much for sending in the image. Use the link in the description to send in other images, and we'll see you in those other images in a future episode. Thanks. See ya. Bye.